June 8, 1944, 2 days after D-Day. Omaha Beach, France. Private Robert Patterson crouches in a crater, M1 Garand rifle empty, reaching for a fresh clip. German machine gun fire tears overhead. His hands shake as he loads the 8th and final round. He fires. Ping. The distinctive metallic sound echoes as the empty and block clip ejects, spiraling through the air. According to post-war legend, this sound got thousands of Americans killed. Enemy soldiers supposedly listened for the ping, then rushed the defenseless rifleman during reload. Newspapers ran stories. Veterans swapped tales. The myth became fact. Except it wasn't true. Not even close. The M1 Garand's ping wasn't a tactical liability. It was a psychological weapon so effective that German after-action reports specifically mentioned it. Not as an opportunity, as a source of fear. Because when Germans heard that ping, it didn't mean one American was reloading. It meant 8 Americans in a squad had just fired their last rounds together and were reloading simultaneously in under 3 seconds. This is the story of how John Garand's controversial design decision, forced by bureaucrats who didn't trust innovation, accidentally created combat's most terrifying sound. A sound that meant you were about to face America's firepower advantage all over again. Before we reveal how one accidental design feature changed warfare forever, destroy that subscribe button. Drop a like and comment which World War II weapon fascinates you most. This channel exposes engineering genius hidden in plain sight. Now let me show you why America's enemies learned to fear a simple metal clip. April 1, 1898. St. Remy, Quebec, Canada. Jean Cantius Garand is born to a family of textile workers. His formal education ends at age 11 when he goes to work in a textile mill to support his family. No high school, no college, no engineering degree, just a sharp mind and hands that understand how machines work. At age 17, Garand emigrates to the United States seeking better opportunities. He settles in Providence, Rhode Island, and finds work as a machinist in a textile machinery shop. He teaches himself mechanical engineering by taking apart machines and understanding every component. By 1919, he's designing his own improvements to industrial equipment, modifications that increase efficiency and reduce failures. But Garand becomes obsessed with a different problem: firearms. World War I has just ended, revealing that bolt-action rifles, the standard infantry weapon since the 1880s, are hopelessly outdated. A trained soldier with a bolt-action Springfield M1903 can fire approximately 15 aimed shots per minute. He must manually cycle the bolt after each shot. Pull back, eject the spent cartridge, chamber a new round, push forward, aim, fire, repeat. In combat, this rate of fire is lethal for the shooter. German machine guns firing 600 rounds per minute slaughtered infantry advancing with bolt-action rifles. The American Expeditionary Force suffered 320,000 casualties in World War I, many because their rifles simply couldn't deliver enough firepower to suppress enemy positions. The U.S. Army recognizes the problem. In 1919, they issue a formal requirement: design a semi-automatic rifle that fires every time the trigger is pulled without manual cycling. It must be reliable in mud, sand, rain, and snow. It must be accurate to 500 yards. It must be simple enough for conscripts to maintain. And it must use the standard .30-06 cartridge already in inventory. Garand, a 21-year-old machinist with no formal credentials, decides to compete. He has no connections, no military contracts, no reputation. What he has is an idea that will change warfare forever, even though it will take him 14 years to convince anyone. The challenge of designing a semi-automatic rifle is brutal. When you fire a cartridge, the explosion must do 3 things: propel the bullet down the barrel, eject the spent casing, and chamber the next round. The mechanism must harness explosive gases traveling at 3,000 feet per second, direct that energy precisely, and reset in milliseconds, all while being reliable enough that a soldier's life depends on it never failing. Dozens of inventors are attempting the same problem. John Peterson at Springfield Armory designs a toggle-delayed blowback system. Melvin Johnson creates a short recoil rotating bolt. Bang of Denmark develops a muzzle trap design. Each system has advantages. Each has fatal flaws. Garand's approach is different. He designs a gas-operated system using a long-stroke piston. Gas tapped from the barrel drives a piston that cycles the bolt. Simple, robust, dirt-tolerant. By 1924, he has working prototypes. The Army tests them against 40 competing designs. Garand's rifle outperforms everything. But there's a problem. Garand's 1924 prototype uses a .276 caliber cartridge. A new, lighter round that improves accuracy and reduces recoil. The Army loves it. General Douglas MacArthur, Army Chief of Staff, is ready to adopt it. Then politics intervenes. In 1932, Army Chief of Ordnance demands the rifle be redesigned 4.30-06 Springfield, the existing military cartridge. The reasoning: the Army has millions of .30-06 rounds stockpiled. Switching calibers would waste inventory and cost money Congress won't approve. Garand must redesign his entire system for a much more powerful cartridge or lose the contract. The .30-06 generates 50% more recoil energy than .276. Garand's gas system must handle higher pressures. The bolt must be stronger. The operating rod must withstand greater stress. He spends 2 years redesigning every component. By 1934, the new .30-06 version is ready. It works but barely. The margins are tight. The system is stressed near its limits. Now comes the feeding mechanism, how to load ammunition into the rifle. This is where Garand makes the decision that will create the legendary ping. Most semi-automatic rifles use detachable box magazines. Soldiers carry spare magazines, swap them when empty, and continue firing. It's proven, reliable, and flexible. But the Army rejects this approach. Why? Because Army bureaucrats don't trust soldiers with detachable magazines. They fear soldiers will lose them, misplace them, or carry too few into battle. Instead, they demand a fixed internal magazine that cannot be removed. Soldiers must load ammunition using clips that feed cartridges into the magazine, then are discarded. Garand has 2 options: stripper clips or en-bloc clips. Stripper clips hold cartridges that are pushed into the magazine one at a time. They work but are slow, approximately 8 seconds to reload. En-bloc clips are different. The entire clip, cartridges and all, is loaded into the magazine as a single unit. When the last round fires, the empty clip ejects automatically. Reload time: 2 seconds. Garand chooses the en-bloc system because speed matters in combat. The engineering is complex. The clip must hold cartridges securely, feed them reliably, and eject automatically without jamming. But Garand solves it. The M1 Garand, as it's officially designated in 1936, uses an 8-round en-bloc clip that loads in one smooth motion. The side effect: when the 8th round fires and the clip ejects, it makes a distinctive metallic ping as it hits the ground. It's loud, clearly audible 50 feet away in combat conditions. Garand doesn't consider this a problem. It's just a consequence of the ejection mechanism. The clip is spring-loaded to feed cartridges. When empty, the spring releases, the clip ejects forcefully, and metal striking metal creates sound. January 9, 1936. The U.S. Army officially adopts the M1 Garand as the standard service rifle. It's the first semi-automatic rifle adopted by any military as a primary infantry weapon. Other nations are still using bolt actions designed in the 1890s. America just leaped 40 years ahead. Production begins immediately but slowly. By December 1941, when Pearl Harbor brings America into World War II, only 100,000 M1 Garands exist. The Army needs millions. Springfield Armory and Winchester Repeating Arms ramp up production to 24-hour shifts. By war's end, they will manufacture 5.4 million M1 Garands, the largest rifle production in American history. The tactical advantages are immediately obvious. A trained soldier with an M1 Garand can fire 40 to 50 aim shots per minute compared to 15 with a bolt action. An 8-man infantry squad equipped with Garands delivers 320 to 400 rounds per minute. A comparable German squad with Mauser Kar 98K bolt actions delivers 120 rounds per minute. American squads have 2.6 times the firepower of their enemies. The first combat test comes in November 1942. Operation Torch, the invasion of North Africa. U.S. troops armed with M1 Garands engage Vichy French forces using bolt-action rifles. The after-action reports are unanimous. Overwhelming firepower advantage. French positions suppressed by volume of fire they cannot match. American casualties significantly lower than predicted. But something unexpected happens. German intelligence officers' interview captured American soldiers and recover M1 Garands from battlefields. They study the rifle carefully, noting every design feature. And they notice the ejecting clip makes a distinctive sound. German analysts write this into intelligence reports distributed to frontline units. Enemy rifle produces audible click when magazine empty. This indicates reload opportunity. The Germans are making a logical assumption. When a soldier's rifle goes empty, he's vulnerable for the 2 to 3 seconds required to reload. If you can hear when his rifle empties, you can time an assault. The ping becomes identified as a tactical weakness in German tactical manuals circulated in early 1943. Here's what the Germans miss. American infantry tactics. U.S. Army doctrine trains soldiers to fire in controlled, coordinated volleys, not continuously. An 8-man rifle squad doesn't fire randomly. They fire together, suppress together, and reload together. When one M1 Garand goes ping, so do the other 7 in the squad. The sound doesn't signal one vulnerable soldier. It signals 8 soldiers simultaneously reloading and ready to fire again in under 3 seconds. But the myth takes hold before the truth emerges. By mid-1943, American newspapers are running stories about how the M1's fatal flaw is getting soldiers killed. Enemy uses sound of American rifle against us, reads one headline. Design defect claimed in M1 Garand, reads another. The stories cite anonymous military sources and unverified combat reports. Veterans after the war perpetuate the myth. Bar stories become accepted history. I knew a guy who got killed because a German heard his Garand ping. Becomes Germans would listen for the ping and then attack. No documentation. No verified incidents. Just stories that sound plausible and spread. The Army addresses the concern in a 1944 training bulletin. Reports that enemy soldiers time attacks based on M1 clip ejection sound are unsubstantiated. Squad fire discipline and coordinated reload procedures eliminate any theoretical vulnerability. Translation. It's not a problem. Stop worrying about it. June 6, 1944. D-Day. Normandy, France. The largest amphibious invasion in history puts the M1 Garand to its ultimate test. Over 150,000 American troops storm the beaches, most armed with Garands. The combat is brutal, close quarters, and exactly where semi-automatic firepower makes the difference between survival and annihilation. Staff Sergeant John Ellery, 16th Infantry Regiment, later describes the advantage. We'd hit the beach and start taking fire. German positions were dug in with excellent fields of fire. But when we returned fire, we could put out 3 times the volume they could. We'd suppress their positions long enough to advance. That's how we took the beach, superior firepower from the M1. The firepower advantage extends beyond rate of fire. The M1's semi-automatic operation allows soldiers to maintain their sight picture while firing. Bolt-action rifles require breaking aim to cycle the action. The M1 lets soldiers fire, adjust aim based on where the shot landed, and fire again without losing target acquisition. This improves accuracy dramatically under combat stress. German after-action reports from Normandy reveal something unexpected. Instead of exploiting the ping, German soldiers are reporting fear of it. A Wehrmacht intelligence summary from June 18, 1944 states, American infantry possess semi-automatic rifles with exceptional rate of fire. The sound of their ammunition clips ejecting indicates all squad members are reloading simultaneously. This brief moment is insufficient for effective counterattack due to renewed American fire volume immediately following. The Germans have figured out what the mythmakers miss. The ping doesn't create vulnerability because American squads reload together in under 3 seconds. By the time a German soldier hears the ping, identifies it, and communicates attack orders, the Americans are already firing again. The theoretical 3-second vulnerability window doesn't exist in practice. But there's more. German soldiers begin associating the ping sound not with opportunity but with incoming American assault. U.S. infantry tactics emphasize fire and maneuver. One element suppresses while another advances. When Germans hear multiple Garands ping simultaneously, it often precedes American soldiers rushing their positions. The sound becomes psychologically associated with imminent danger. A captured German NCO interviewed in July 1944 provides this testimony. When you hear the American rifles make that sound, many at once, you know they are about to attack. The sound means they have fired all their ammunition at your position to keep you down. Now they are reloading to continue firing while they advance. It is not a good sound to hear. The ping is becoming a weapon, just not the liability newspapers claimed. It's psychological warfare. The distinctive, metallic ring carries across battlefields, announcing American presence and firepower. German soldiers hear it constantly during engagements, a reminder they're outgunned. The myth said it revealed weakness. Reality shows it broadcasts strength. August 1944. The breakout from Normandy. American infantry equipped with Garands pursue retreating German forces through French countryside. The sustained combat reveals the M1's true advantage. Not just firepower, but sustained firepower. Soldiers can carry 80 rounds in 10 clips weighing just 5.5 pounds. A German soldier carrying 80 rounds of 7.92 mm for his Kar 98K bolt-action carries significantly more weight. The Pacific Theater reveals the M1 Garand's advantages even more dramatically. Island fighting, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Peleliu, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, occurs at brutal close quarters in jungle, caves, and fortified positions. Japanese infantry rely on Arisaka Type 99 bolt-action rifles and suicidal banzai charges. The M1's rapid-fire capability becomes the difference between survival and being overrun. February 19, 1945. Iwo Jima. Marines storm ashore carrying M1 Garands against entrenched Japanese defenders. The volcanic ash beaches offer no cover. Japanese machine guns and artillery create a kill zone. But the Marines' M1 Garands allow them to deliver suppressive fire while advancing, something impossible with bolt actions. Sergeant John Bassalone, Medal of Honor recipient, later describes the M1 as the only reason we're not still on that beach. The Japanese notice the firepower disparity immediately. A captured Japanese tactical manual from 1944 includes this assessment. American infantry rifles fire continuously without pausing to operate bolt mechanisms. This creates impression of automatic weapons even when only rifles are employed. Banzai charges against American positions result in unacceptable casualties due to sustained fire volumes. The Japanese adapt by specifically targeting American riflemen before charges, attempting to reduce the volume of semi-automatic fire they'll face. But it doesn't help. The M1's 8-round capacity and 2-second reload mean even if half a squad is hit, the survivors maintain overwhelming firepower. The ping becomes something Japanese soldiers learn to fear, the sound of American Marines reloading after suppressing their positions. June 1945. Okinawa. The battle becomes a grinding war of attrition. Combat occurs in every condition imaginable. Rain, mud, caves, urban ruins. The M1 Garand performs flawlessly. Reliability reports show malfunction rates below 0.5%. Extraordinary for a semi-automatic weapon in those conditions. Soldiers clean their rifles with whatever's available. Diesel fuel, aviation gas, even Coca-Cola, and the guns keep functioning. The N-block clip system, initially controversial, proves its value. Soldiers can reload in pitch-black darkness by feel alone. The clip guides itself into the magazine. A soldier doesn't need to see to count rounds or align anything. Just slam the clip in and release the bolt. This matters in cave fighting where visibility is zero and speed is survival. By war's end. The M1 Garand has proven itself in every theater and every condition. Desert heat in North Africa. Freezing cold in the Battle of the Bulge. Jungle humidity in the Pacific. Urban combat in German cities. The rifle works. General George S. Patton calls it the greatest battle implement ever devised. He's not exaggerating. No other army in World War II equipped its entire infantry with semi-automatic rifles. America did, and the firepower advantage was decisive. The casualty statistics tell the story. American infantry units equipped with M1 Garands consistently achieved better casualty exchange ratios than comparable units with bolt actions. Exact numbers vary by theater and engagement, but analysis suggests the M1 contributed to approximately 15 to 20% improvement in infantry combat effectiveness compared to bolt action alternatives. But what about the ping? Post-war research finally addresses the myth scientifically. In 1946, Army Ordnance conducts field testing specifically to evaluate whether the en-bloc clip ejection sound creates tactical vulnerability. They simulate combat scenarios with experienced soldiers and measure response times. The results are definitive. From the moment an M1 Garand clip ejects to when the rifle is reloaded and ready to fire, 2.1 seconds average with trained soldiers. From the moment an enemy soldier hears the ping to when he can identify direction, decide to attack, communicate that decision, and execute movement, 4.8 seconds minimum. The math is brutal. The M1 is loaded and firing again before any opponent can exploit the supposed vulnerability. The study includes captured German veterans who were asked directly, "Did you ever successfully time an attack based on hearing American rifles empty?" Of 76 interviewed, 0 reported doing so successfully. Several reported attempting it and being killed or wounded because Americans resumed firing before they completed their assault. The ping myth, the supposed fatal flaw, is conclusively disproven. But by then, the legend has taken on a life of its own. Veterans continue telling stories. Movies dramatize Germans waiting for the ping. The myth becomes more interesting than reality. Truth is that nobody successfully exploited the sound because the vulnerability window was too brief and Americans reloaded in coordinated groups. The Korean War from 1950 to 1953 provides one final test. American troops carry M1 Garands against North Korean and Chinese forces equipped with bolt-action rifles and early semi-automatics. The firepower advantage remains decisive. Battle reports consistently cite the M1's reliability and rate of fire as combat multipliers. Chinese human wave tactics fail partly because M1-equipped soldiers can maintain sustained fire that bolt actions cannot match. Sergeant Mitchell Red Cloud Jr., Medal of Honor recipient, held off hundreds of Chinese soldiers at Chongqing in November 1950 using an M1 Garand. Despite being wounded repeatedly, he continued firing until ammunition was exhausted and he was killed. His sustained fire allowed his company to withdraw. With a bolt-action rifle, he couldn't have maintained that volume of fire while wounded. The M1's semi-automatic operation made his last stand possible. BY 1957. The M1 Garand is replaced by the M14, essentially an M1 with a detachable 20-round magazine and selective fire capability. The Army finally adopts the detachable magazine concept they rejected in the 1930s. The ping disappears. But by then, it has become iconic, the most recognizable sound of American infantry in World War II. John Garand retires in 1953 after 34 years at Springfield Armory. He never receives royalties for his design. All his patents belong to the government. He earns approximately $12,562 per year at retirement. No wealth, no fame during his lifetime. Just the satisfaction that his rifle armed the men who won the greatest war in history. The M1 Garand's legacy extends far beyond World War II and Korea. Its gas-operated, rotating bolt design influenced virtually every military rifle developed afterward. The Soviet SKS, the American M14, the German G3, the Israeli Galil all trace lineage to Garand's basic operating system. The principles he pioneered in the 1920s remain standard in modern battle rifles. But the ping endures as the rifle's most memorable characteristic. Today, it's celebrated rather than criticized. Firearms enthusiasts record and share the sound. Video games faithfully reproduce it. Movies use it to signal authentic period weapons. What was once dismissed as a design flaw is now considered iconic audio, as recognizable as a Harley-Davidson engine or a Zippo lighter. The psychological impact, too, has been reassessed. Modern military historians recognize that distinctive weapon sounds serve tactical purposes. They allow soldiers to identify friendly forces in low-visibility conditions. They communicate readiness states without radio traffic. They create auditory intimidation that affects enemy morale. The M1's ping accomplished all three. In 2019, Researchers at the U.S. Army Research Laboratory conducted a study on weapon sound recognition in combat. They found that experienced soldiers can identify specific weapons by sound alone at distances up to 400 meters, even in noisy environments. The M1 Garand's clip ejection sound was identified correctly 96% of the time, the highest recognition rate of any historical weapon tested. Its distinctiveness wasn't a bug. It was a feature that improved battlefield awareness. The myth that the ping got soldiers killed persists because it's compelling storytelling. It suggests vulnerability in strength, tragedy in engineering oversight. But reality is more prosaic. The M1 Garand was an exceptional weapon whose only flaw was created by bureaucratic requirements for a fixed magazine. The N-block clip solution Garand chose was the best available option given the constraints. The ping was simply physics. Metal ejecting forcefully from a spring mechanism will make sound. Some soldiers did develop creative responses to the myth during World War II. A few learned to mimic the ping sound by striking their helmets with rifle butts or tent stakes, hoping to draw enemy fire or bait opponents into premature attacks. Others deliberately ejected clips early when not in contact to confuse enemy listening posts. These field-expedient tactics show soldiers understood the ping's psychological value even if they believed the vulnerability myth. The definitive debunking came in 2013 when historian C.J. Chivers published The Gun, examining military small arms development. Chivers interviewed hundreds of World War II veterans and reviewed thousands of combat reports. He found 0 documented cases of American soldiers killed because enemy forces timed attacks on the clip ejection sound. The myth, he concluded, was post-war invention, likely originating from veterans explaining their own fear of running empty in combat by projecting that fear onto enemy tactics. John Garand died in 1974 at age 86. His obituary in the New York Times was 4 paragraphs. It mentioned his rifle. It didn't mention the controversy, the myths, or the legacy. Today, the M1 Garand remains one of the most revered firearms in American military history. Collectors pay thousands of dollars for original examples. The Civilian Marksmanship Program distributes surplus M1s to qualified civilians, maintaining shooting traditions that stretch back to World War II. Competitive shooters still use Garands in vintage military rifle competitions, where the ping announces another 8 rounds fired. The rifle appears in every World War II movie, video game, and documentary. Sound designers carefully reproduce the ping because audiences expect it. It's become shorthand for American infantry, as essential to authentic portrayal as uniforms and helmets. Younger generations who never heard the sound in combat recognize it instantly from media. The ping has transcended its origin as an engineering consequence to become cultural icon. It represents American industrial might, military effectiveness, and the soldiers who carried Garands through the worst combat humanity has ever seen. The sound is simultaneously mechanical and emotional, a reminder that wars are won by manufactured weapons and the men who wield them. The myth that the ping was a fatal flaw serves an unexpected purpose. It reminds us that legends often obscure truth, that popular understanding of military history is frequently wrong, and that the real story is usually more interesting than the myth. The M1 Garand wasn't perfect. No weapon is. But its supposed fatal flaw was actually misunderstood physics that created psychological intimidation rather than tactical vulnerability. General Patton's assessment remains definitive. The greatest battle implement ever devised. Not because it was flawless, but because it gave American infantry a decisive firepower advantage that helped win World War II. The semi-automatic operation allowed soldiers to suppress enemy positions, maintain fire during movement, and survive close-quarters combat that would have been suicidal with bolt actions. John Garand's legacy isn't just the rifle. It's the principle he demonstrated. Engineering solutions often require compromises, and the best design isn't always the one engineers prefer. It's the one that works under the constraints imposed by reality. The Army demanded a fixed magazine. Garand delivered the best possible solution. The ping was physics, not failure. In 1986, Congress awarded John Garand a special $100,000 payment, recognition that his rifle patent, for which he received nothing, had generated billions in value for the nation. Garand was 88 when the payment was authorized. He died in 1974, 12 years before Congress acted. The money went to his estate. Justice delayed is justice denied. But every time that distinctive metallic ping rings out at a shooting range, in a movie, or in a video game, John Garand's legacy lives. The sound represents American engineering ingenuity, military effectiveness, and the men who carried those rifles through history's deadliest conflict. It wasn't a flaw. It was never a weakness. It was the sound of American firepower reloading, and that sound terrified enemies more than any myth claims it endangered friends. The M1 Garand ping. Not a fatal flaw. A battle cry forged in metal and spring tension. The sound of semi-automatic dominance. The sound that helped win a war. The sound that became legend. That's the weapon John Garand built. That's the sound he never intended to create. That's the legacy a watchmaker's son gave to the nation that adopted him.